From a possible signal from another civilization to giant designs in the desert only visible from the sky, there are countless mysteries from around the world that are unsolved. Join us as we explore a few of these mysteries and look at the theories that try to explain them. In southern Peru lies a vast and grand mystery, one that still holds to this day. The Nazca Lines are a mysterious geoglyphs written in the soil in an area over 500 square kilometers. From who built the Nazca Lines in the first place and why, to how they knew what they were doing as the lines could only be properly visible from near. For hundreds of years, the mystery of Nazca Lines has prevailed. From the first written account of them from Pedro Cieza de Leon in 1553, to modern archaeologists looking to uncover the mystery. Over 3,000 geoglyphs exist in the desert, and each one is vastly different. From the Condor geoglyph, which many believe it depicts a Chuacito, as they are often found in the region, and understanding the glyph's immense size over 130 meters in length and 115 meters in width, to the astronaut glyph, which still puzzle scientists to this day is what is being depicted, to glyphs which depict a monkey, parrot, spider, and whale, to the famous hummingbird glyph which sits at a size over 97 meters in length and 65 meters in width. Many theories have been put together to try and explain the reasoning behind them. A mathematician named Maria Reich proposed the lines for ancient astronomical calendar built by Paracas and Nazca cultures with some addition by the warrior settlers, woven with the cycles of the star and sun. To Toni Morrison and Jim Woodwin, who proposed that the Nazca Lines are ancient walkways connecting Huacas. Jim Woodwin also proposed that the ancient people knew how to build hot air balloons, enabling them to see the glyphs from the sky. To George von Breuning, who proposed that the Nazca Lines are used for water worshipping. The theory proposed by Erich von Daniken proposed that the Nazca Lines are intricate guides for visiting spacecraft from outer space. As you can see, many theories have come up to try and explain the Nazca Lines, but none have been widely accepted. There are some holes within each theory, and let's take a second to understand what they are. Marie Reich's theory is intriguing, however it falls short in the fact that her theory relies on the possibility that the lines are connected with astronomical events, as only a few measurements that are connected to astronomical objects has been found. Turning to the theory proposed by Erich von Daniken, the theory has some major flaws. For the lack of archaeological evidence and selected interpretation of evidence that he did gather, there are a few major holes in this theory. Toni Morrison and Jim Woodwin's theory has its flaws as well, as the idea that the Nazca Lines are pathways connected to ceremonial sites contradicts the Nazca culture, as does not address how these would have fit into any practices they would have performed, to the lack of evidence that the ancient cultures possessed the technology to create hot air balloons. The most widely accepted theory is the Nazca Lines are used for ceremonies and rituals, along with pilgrimage routes and sacred pathways. There is some evidence to point out that they do have some astronomical significance, but not to the degree that Mary Reich was proposing. There are many possibilities to what the Nazca Lines are used for. We may never know why they were built or who built them, but no matter what, we need to protect and preserve these ancient marvels for many more years to come. The Loreto Chapel, a former Roman Catholic church and located in Santa Fe, New Mexico, has been subjected to a long-standing mystery surrounding the spiral staircase located inside the church. During the construction of the church, which occurred between 1877 and 1881, a tragedy struck. In 1879, the head carpenter Projectus Moli suddenly passed away, leaving the staircase unfinished. As the story has been told by the Sisters of Loreto, multiple builders were consulted to help build the staircase but were unable to find a workable solution to the confined space. The sisters had then started to pray for 9 days to St. Joseph, who was the patron of carpenters. On the final day of praying, a mysterious figure approached the sisters to build the staircase, only using simple hand tools to construct. When his work was done, he did not collect his payment and disappeared without any trace without the sisters knowing his identity. Some believe that the staircase was built overnight, while others believe that it took many months for the staircase to be built. However long it took the staircase to be built, it is an impressive work of carpentry, seeming to defy the laws of physics as it stands over 20 feet in height with no obvious means of support. Many of the sisters believe that the woodworker who finished the staircase was none other than St. Joseph himself. During the original construction of the staircase, handrails were not installed. However, many people reported that walking up and down the staircase was frightening, so in 1887 another carpenter named Philip August Hetch added handrails. The staircase possesses no central pole commonly used to give strength to staircases as seen in other examples. Therefore, it is difficult to understand how the weight is being supported. However, the staircase is supported by its stringers just like an ordinary staircase, but these stringers are twisted into a helix shape. The staircase has two 360-degree turns with no visible means of support. It is said that the staircase was built without nails, the woodworker only used wooden pegs. In the early 2000s, an amateur historian named Mary Jean Cook believes she found the identity of the woodworker. She believes that the builder is most likely a woodworker named Francois John Rochas, as he was a reclusive rancher and occasional carpenter who came to New Mexico from France in the 1870s. A piece of evidence that supports this theory is a short story that appeared in a local newspaper in 1895 that talks about his death by murder. Quote, he was a Frenchman and favorably known in Santa Fe as an expert worker in wood. He built a handsome staircase in Loretto Chapel and St. Vincent Sanatorium, end quote. There was also the sentence that was found in his sister's logbook, which reportedly contained a sentence describing work that Rochas had been paid $150 for wood in 1881. Quote, 5 saws, a saw clamp and set, 9 planes, 19 molding planes, 2 squares, 5 gauges, 6 chisels, 2 gouges, a draw knife, a brace, 3 augers, 10 auger bits, a reamer, 2 clamps, and a pair of trammel points, end quote. However, there has been pushback on this theory, as some believe the memo in the book read, quote, paid for wood, Mr. Rochas for end school, end quote. People believe that this is about a local school that he built for the sisters, and it does not report anything about a staircase. There are also other examples of staircase with the same design from the Old Washoe Club in Virginia City, Nevada, which also dates back to the 1870s. From across the seas, there is another staircase found in Don's Town Hall in Poland. It was reported to the New Mexican in 1944 by a government official named Bonnie Foster. Quote, it is a tall spiral and without steel nails, but the wood is different. It is in the town hall of the 14th to 16th century. How it is constructed and whether it's a miracle story back of it, Mr. Foster could not say, but she declared it is strikingly similar like St. Joseph's in design, end quote. There are still lingering questions to be answered, from how the staircase was built to the wooden materials used in its construction, to the identity of the woodworker. Whether it was a reclusive Frenchman or St. Joseph himself, we may never know the answers. In the evening of August 15, 1977 at 2:05 a.m., astronomer Jerry R. Eyman was looking through the data from the past 2 days that the Big Ear telescope captured. While he was searching through the data, he came across a series of digits now known as the WOW signal. It was a signal that lasted approximately 72 seconds and originated from the constellation Sagittarius. The signal came in at a frequency of 1420 MHz, which is significant to the fact that hydrogen naturally emits radio signals at this frequency. What made the signal so intriguing to Jerry was the fact that it was over 30 times more powerful than background noise. Over many months, scientists were hoping to catch the signal again. However, it never occurred. Many questions remain. Was the signal a natural or man-made phenomena, or did it originate from another planet? The signal is a strong narrowband signal, although it does not have any detectable modulation. A paper released in 1959 by Cornell University physicists named Philip Morrison and Giuseppe Cassini to speculate that advanced alien civilizations attempting to communicate via radio signals may do so with a frequency of 1420 MHz. As this is naturally emitted by hydrogen, hydrogen is the most common element in the known universe, and therefore advanced civilizations would be familiar with this. The string 6EQUJ5 is commonly misinterpreted as a message encoded in a radio signal, but in fact represents the variation in the signal's intensity over time. At the time of the signal, the Big Ear telescope could only adjust for altitude and rely on the rotation of the Earth for scanning across the sky. Due to the speed that the Earth rotates at and the given width of the telescope's observation window, the Big Ear could only observe any given point for just 72 seconds, explaining why the signal is only 72 seconds long. Many theories try to explain the mysterious signal, but none have been conclusively accepted. So we'll look at the top theories and let you decide which one you think possibly explains the WOW signal. The WOW signal may not have originated from deep space but from our own backyard. The many different technologies on Earth can produce radio signals, such as communication satellites, terrestrial transmitters, or other objects. As the radio signals can bounce off objects in space, such as space debris, this can cause false radio signals which appear to come from space. However, there has not been a source that can match up with the WOW signal to verify this theory. Another possibility is a malfunction of the telescope or one of its many systems. A fault in the code could cause a false reading and make it look like an error is a signal coming from space. The only issue is that many in-depth investigations into the telescope and systems have not revealed any issues or problems with the telescope. Celestial objects such as pulsars and stars can create radio waves. The only issue is the fact that they are continuous and not typically transient signals like the WOW signal. Supernova, gamma ray bursts, or other transient events in space can produce intense bursts of radio signals. However, the characteristics of the WOW signal, which includes brief duration and lack of repetition, are hard to attribute to known transient events. Hydrogen clouds produce radio signals in the interstellar medium at the hydrogen line frequency. However, the WOW signal's unique characteristics such as their strength and transient nature do not align with known transient events. The WOW signal could be attributed to an unknown object or event in space, however we will not know until we find more evidence. There is a possibility the radio signal coming from outside the Milky Way, as a quasar or radio galaxy might produce an intense radio signal. However, these signals are observed as continuous emissions are not consistent with the characteristics of the WOW signal. The most exciting theory is the possibility of extraterrestrial origin, a distant hello from another world. The signal's strong intensity, narrow-band nature, and lack of repetition adds to the speculation that it originates from another world. However, we cannot conclusively say this message is from extraterrestrials, as we have to rule out other explanations. If the WOW signal repeated itself around the same area of the sky, that could help strengthen the case for extraterrestrials. However, despite repeated attempts to hear the signal again, it has not been heard since 1977. Another factor is to rule out natural and man-made sources, as this could produce a signal similar to the WOW signal. The mystery of the WOW signal will remain unsolved for many years to come, as many questions remain. Who or what produced the signal, and why did we only hear it once? On the evening of 21st October 1978, cruising at an altitude of 5,000 feet over the Bass Strait in South Australia, Frederick Valentix was flying his Cessna 182 registered VH-DSJ. During his flight, he radioed air traffic control asking if an aircraft was flying above him. Air traffic reported that no aircraft were near or above Valentix at the time. He then replied stating there was an unidentified aircraft flying approximately 1,000 feet above him. He reported that the aircraft was illuminated by 4 lights and was unable to determine what type of aircraft it was. He then stated that it was moving at high speeds. Valentix reported that the unknown aircraft was approaching from the east and it appeared that the aircraft's pilot was toying with him. He then reported the unknown aircraft is orbiting above his aircraft and described the unknown aircraft as having a shiny metal and green light. However, soon after his last radio transmission, he then reported that his engine was experiencing a problem. Soon after, the air traffic controller asked Valentix to describe the unknown aircraft. He then radioed back, quote, "It is hovering and is not an aircraft," end quote. This was his last transmission before it was interrupted by what was described as a, quote, "metallic scraping sound," end quote, before all contact was lost. Over the following weeks, a search and rescue mission was undertaken, which included an ocean-going ship, an RAAF Lockheed Orion plane, and 8 civilian planes that joined the search for the missing pilot in the plane. Over the next few days, the search covered an area of 1,000 square miles, which uncovered nothing. The search ceased on the 25th of October 1978. Valentix has been missing for 45 years, with no evidence being found to understand what happened on that fateful day. So let's go back in time to understand who Frederick Valentix was and what theories there are to try and explain his disappearance. Frederick Valentix was born in 1958 and he was 20 years old at the time of his disappearance. He was studying to become a commercial pilot, however he had a poor achievement record, failed twice at all of his commercial license examination subjects. He only had around 150 total flight hours. He also held a Class 4 instrument rating which allowed him to fly at night, but only in visual meteorological conditions. He had previous incidents involving aircraft, for example, straying into controlled zone in Sydney. Valentix's father described him as an avid believer in UFOs, as he would watch movies of extraterrestrials and collect clippings about UFO sightings. Now let's look at the many theories to try and explain his disappearance. The official investigation, which was headed by the Australian Department of Transportation, was unable to determine the cause, but was, quote, "presumed fatal for Valentix," end quote. Half a decade after the disappearance, an engine cowling flap was found ashore on Flinders Island. The Bureau of Air Safety Investigation noted that the part had been found to originate from a Cessna 182 between a range of certain serial numbers which included Valentix's plane. In 2013, a theory was proposed by astronomer and retired United States Air Force pilot James McGaugh and author Joe Nickell. They have theorized that Valentix, who was inexperienced, was deceived by an illusion of tilted horizon. This caused him to put his plane into a downward spiral known as a graveyard orbit, which according to the authors would put immense G-forces in the aircraft fuel system, which would decrease the fuel pressure, which would result in rough idling of the engine that Valentix had reported. They also proposed that the stationary lights that Valentix had reported could have been caused by the planets Mercury, Venus, and Mars, and with the bright star Antares, which would have behaved in the way that Valentix had described them. Another theory is that Valentix did see a UFO, and that the UFO had either abducted him or destroyed his aircraft. A few individuals say that they have seen a green orb in the sky at night and saw Valentix's plane in a steep dive. The group Saucer Watcher, which is based in Phoenix, Arizona, has claimed that the photo taken by amateur photographer Roy Manifold, which shows an unknown object exiting the water near Cape Otway Lighthouse. The picture seems to show the object surrounded by a cloud-like vapor or exhaust residue, although the object was not clear enough to see details in the photo. The disappearance of Frederick Valentix may never be solved, but all we can hope is one day it is and his family can finally have closure. From the Nazca lines to the WOW signal, there are still many mysteries that are left unsolved. This is not a bad thing, as it shows that there are still many things left to learn. What we can take away from this is a famous paradox that goes like so. Quote, "The more you learn, the more there is to learn," end quote. Stating as the bubble of your knowledge expands, the bubble of what you don't know expands as well, showing that you cannot learn everything. Thanks for watching, and remember to stay open and stay curious.